The duel. The arena was silent, but the air felt heavy. Thousands of alien eyes watched from tall metal stands. The sky above was dark purple, covered in thick clouds. This was not Earth. This was a war moon of the Vylari Empire, a place where honor was settled with blades, not words. Rain Carter stood alone in the center of the arena. A soldier from Earth, he had come to this world as a bodyguard for human diplomats. He never planned to fight. But now, here he was, facing a warrior twice his size. His enemy was General Varric, the Queen's champion. 8 feet tall, scales of dark red glowing eyes. He held a massive blade with jagged edges, his armor shining under the arena lights. Rain had only one weapon, a curved silver blade that had been given to him just moments ago by Princess Kyle Nari. "Take this," she had said, her voice calm but strange. "Fight with my family's blade. It will answer your strength." Rain had not understood, but he had no choice. The duel had already been declared. Backing out would mean dishonor for Earth and possible war. So he took the blade. Now, sweat ran down his neck. His boots pressed into red sand. Across the arena, Varric roared. "You dare accept my challenge, human?" the alien growled. Rain didn't speak. He just raised the blade. It felt light in his hands. Too light for something so old. It hummed, almost like it was alive. The duel began. Varric charged forward with a thunderous cry, swinging his blade down hard. Rain rolled to the side, barely avoiding it. The ground cracked from the impact. Sand flew into the air. Rain got up, fast and slashed forward. His strike landed, a deep cut across Varric's side, but the alien barely flinched. "Is that all?" Varric laughed. Rain didn't answer. He moved fast, keeping low, using speed instead of strength. He slashed again and again, the silver blade glowing brighter with each strike. The crowd began to cheer, not for Varric, but for Rain. Varric grew angry. He charged again, this time faster. Rain was caught off guard. The alien grabbed him and threw him across the arena. Rain hit the sand hard, gasping for air. His ribs burned. Blood dripped from his lip. He saw the princess standing above the arena, watching closely. Rain forced himself up. He couldn't lose, not for pride, not for politics, but because something in him said, "You were meant for more than running." Varric swung again, a deadly arc of metal. Rain dodged and drove his blade deep into the alien's chest. Varric froze, eyes wide, then dropped his weapon. The arena went silent. Rain pulled the blade free. The giant warrior fell to his knees, then to the ground, dead. Rain stood there, breathing, hard, the silver blade still glowing in his hand. Then, something strange happened. Everyone in the arena knelt, everyone, except the princess. She walked slowly down the stairs, her eyes locked on Rain. The crowd made way for her. Her long robe trailed behind like flowing smoke. She stopped in front of him. Rain lowered the blade and tried to give it back. "Thank you for the sword," he said, his voice hoarse. She didn't take it. Instead, she looked at the blade, then at him. "You used the blade of my bloodline," she said quietly. "You fought with it. You bled with it." Rain blinked. "I had no other choice." "And now," she continued, her voice calm but cold, "you are my bonded." Rain frowned. "What does that mean?" She stepped closer. Her eyes were like frozen stars. The crowd held their breath. "By our law," she said, "fighting with a royal blade binds you to the one who gave it, by blood and by soul." Rain shook his head. "Wait, what? I don't understand." "You are now my mate, by oath of the blade." The words hit him like a shockwave. Silence, then whispers in the crowd. Rain looked around. No one laughed, no one argued. This was real. He turned back to the princess. "I didn't agree to that." She gave him a cold smile. "You already did," she said. "When you took the blade." Rain looked down at the weapon in his hand. No, longer glowed. The lights of the arena dimmed. Everything had changed. The blood oath revealed Rain Carter sat alone in a cold chamber of silver stone. Outside the tall window, alien stars shone bright against the endless dark sky. He didn't feel like a victor. His ribs ached. His hands were still stained with blood, his and the aliens. But pain wasn't what troubled him. It was the princess's words. "You are now my mate, by oath of the blade." The door opened with a soft hiss. 2 silent guards stepped in. Behind them came a tall, old alien dressed in long black robes. His face was thin, his skin like cracked marble. His eyes glowed with a soft blue light. "I am Eldrith Varro, High, Keeper of Blood Law," the man said in a calm voice. "You must come with me." Rain stood slowly. "Are you arresting me?" The elder looked at him. "No, Captain Carter. We are preparing your bond ceremony." Rain blinked. "Ceremony? I didn't agree to this. I didn't even know this was a law." "That does not matter," the elder said. "By holding the blade, you agreed. Our laws are older than your world." Rain followed him out of the chamber and into a long hallway that glowed faintly blue. Ancient carvings lined the walls, images of warriors of flames of 2 figures standing beneath a double moon. "What exactly is the blood oath?" Rain asked. The elder slowed. "It is a vow deeper than marriage. In our world, it was used only for unity during war. When 2 warriors fought as one, they took the oath. They became bound, mind, body, and soul." Rain felt cold. "But this wasn't a choice," he said. The elder nodded slowly. "No, but the blade does not care for choice. It only knows the will of fate." Rain stopped walking. "I want it undone." The elder turned, looking at him with a quiet sadness. "Once the blood sings, it cannot be unsung." Hours later, Rain stood inside a massive hall. Tall columns rose like trees and golden fire floated in the air. Hundreds of alien nobles watched in silence. At the far end stood Princess Kael'nari, dressed in silver armor with a long red cloak. Her expression was unreadable. She didn't look happy. Rain walked down the center of the hall toward her. He could feel eyes burning into him. This wasn't just a ceremony. It was a warning. A human had been bound to the royal bloodline. To some, it was an insult. To others, a threat. He reached her and stood still. "You could have told me what it meant," he whispered. She didn't look at him. "You would have refused." "Damn right. And we would be at war." Rain clenched his fists. "So you used me." She turned her eyes to his, fierce and proud. "I gave you my blade. You chose to use it." Before he could speak, the elder raised his hand. The crowd fell silent. "By the laws of the blade," he said, "this bond is now sealed." 2 small cuts were made on their palms. Rain winced as the blade touched him again. Kael didn't flinch. They pressed their palms together. Their blood mixed. And something strange happened. Rain felt it. A pull. A heat. A sense of someone else. Inside his mind for a split second. Her thoughts, a memory, a field of fire, a battle, a scream, a young Kyle standing alone. Then it was gone. Rain pulled his hand back, shocked. Kyle looked away. "What was that?" he asked quietly. "You saw a piece of my truth," she said. "The blade does that. It shows who you are, and who I was." "You were just a child," Rain whispered. "Yes. And now I am queen-to-be. And you, my oath-bound." The hall erupted in applause. But Rain felt no joy. That night, Kael called him to her private chamber. "You are not my enemy," she said, standing by the window. "Then why do I feel like a prisoner?" She turned. "Because you are not trusted. Not yet. By you. By them. The council. The people. They think a human cannot lead beside me." Rain scoffed. "Good. Because I don't want to." She looked at him, truly looked. But you must. The blood bond gives you power, protection. It cannot be hidden. And that means you are now a part of this world. Rain took a step closer. Tell me the truth, Kale. Why did you give me that blade? She hesitated. I didn't choose it, she whispered. The blade chose you. Thunder rumbled in the distance. Kale's eyes narrowed. And now, others will come. Not to honor the bond, but to break it. Rain frowned. What do you mean? She looked out the window toward the dark sky where distant ships hovered like shadows. Some would rather see you dead than see peace between our worlds. Rain's jaw tightened. Then let them come. The knife behind the throne. The palace was a fortress of light and silence. Every hallway shimmered with clean metal. Every room glowed with soft alien energy. But even here, under all the order and control, danger crept like a shadow. Rain Carter stood by the window of his chamber. Outside, the twin moons of Valaris hung over the city. Alien ships moved slowly through the sky, keeping watch. He couldn't sleep, not because of the silence, because he didn't know who to trust. He could still feel the blade's touch in his hand. Still feel the echo of Kale's memory in his mind. The ceremony had changed something inside him. It was small, quiet, but it was there, like the start of a second heartbeat. A knock came at his door. 3 short taps. He turned. Yeah? The door opened. Princess Kelnari entered, wearing a deep blue cloak with her family's crest. 3 silver stars crossed by a sword. Rain raised an eyebrow. You don't knock like royalty. I'm not here as royalty, she said. I'm here to keep you alive. That got his attention. Kyle walked in, closed the door, and handed him a thin glass tablet. It lit up in his hand. A security report, written in her language but quickly translated by his implant. Assassination attempt, confirmed. Target, Rain Carter. Suspect, within Royal Guard. You were right, he said quietly. Kyle nodded. They think if you die, the bond will break, will it? She looked at him carefully. Not in life, not in death, only in blood betrayal. Rain frowned. What does that mean? It means, she said, stepping closer, that if you betray the oath, or if I do, the bond becomes cursed. Our lives will twist together into something dark, something ancient. Rain laughed dryly. And here I thought arranged marriages were bad on Earth. She almost smiled. But then her voice grew cold. You must come with me. Tonight. The palace tunnels were quiet under the moonlight. Kyle led Rain through hidden doors and guarded passages. They passed old statues of warriors and queens, their faces carved with scars and sadness. Where are we going? Rain asked. Kyle didn't. Slow down. To the archive chamber. You need to see the history they won't show you. They reached a sealed gate deep underground. 2 guards opened it at Kale's command. Inside was a massive dome filled with floating crystal screens, ancient texts, old recordings. Kale touched a control panel. One screen lit up. An old war played out in holographic light. Alien factions tearing each other apart. A human ship appeared, crashing into the middle of the chaos. Your people arrived during our darkest age, Kyle said. Your captain fought beside us. His name was Terran Soul. Rain narrowed his eyes. That's not in any Earth history. Because he never returned, Kale replied. He stayed here, and he too took a blood oath, with my ancestor. Rain stared. You mean this has happened before? Kale nodded. But it ended in fire, betrayal. The bond was broken by war and cursed for centuries. The screen showed an explosion. 2 figures, one human, one Valari, standing back to back as enemies swarmed in. Rain felt a chill. So what now? He asked. History repeats itself? Kyle looked at him, her voice calm but sharp. Only if we let it. Suddenly, the chamber lights flickered. Kale drew her blade. Someone's here, she said. Rain turned, just as a shadow moved in the corner, a flash of metal, a silent shape leaping from above. "Down!" Cale shouted. Rain dove to the side as a knife slashed through the air. The attacker was fast, cloaked in black, face hidden behind a war mask. Cale met him blade to blade. Sparks flew. She fought with skill, each move sharp and practiced. Rain grabbed a fallen weapon from the wall, a spear-like staff, and joined the fight. The attacker turned, hissed something in a strange dialect, and lunged for Rain. Their blades clashed. Rain blocked, stepped in, and struck him hard in the side. The figure stumbled, then disappeared in a flash of light. Gone. Kyle stood still, breathing hard. Rain looked at her. "You all right?" She nodded. "You?" "Alive," he said, looking at the spot where the attacker vanished. "But I don't think that's the last of them." Kyle wiped her blade. No, it was only the first. Later that night, Kyle stood at her balcony. Rain joined her, bruised but alert. "Why me?" he asked finally. "Why did the blade choose me?" Kale didn't answer at first. The wind moved her hair. Her voice was quiet when she spoke. "Because you have something rare in this galaxy," she said. "What's that?" "Honor, without greed, courage, and without pride. You're dangerous, Rain Carter. Not because you kill, but because you believe." Rain looked at her. "Believe in what?" Cale turned to face him. "In something better." He didn't know what to say, but the silence between them wasn't heavy anymore. It felt real. And outside, in the dark sky beyond the twin moons, something unseen moved. A ship, watching, waiting. Secrets beneath the stars. The palace had quieted after the attack, but fear lingered, like smoke in the halls. Rain Carter didn't sleep. He couldn't. His mind was racing. Why him? Why now? Who wanted him dead so badly they'd risk attacking the Royal Archive? He sat on a balcony overlooking the glowing city below. Valaris was beautiful. Towers like crystal trees, rivers of silver light flowing between buildings. Peaceful on the surface, but now he knew the truth. There were secrets buried in this world. Old ones, dangerous ones, and he had just become one of them. A soft voice spoke behind him. "You can't sleep either?" Rain turned. It was Kyle Nari, wearing a dark robe, her hair loose, her eyes tired. He gave a tired smile. "After tonight? No, not really." She stepped beside him. For a moment, neither of them spoke, just the hum of the alien city below. Then she said, "I think I know who ordered the attack." Rain looked at her sharply. "Who?" She hesitated. "My uncle. His name was Lord Saravan, brother to the late king and leader of the Royal War Council. A proud man, traditional, cold. He believed in Velari purity and isolation. He never supported the Blood Oath Alliance. Now, Cale explained, he had been gathering silent support. Nobles, generals, merchants who feared human influence. "He will not stop," Cale said. "He thinks if you die the bond breaks, or I will be forced to step down." "He's planning a coup," Rain said quietly. She nodded, but in the shadows, slowly. "He knows the people love me. He has to move like a ghost." Rain stood. "Then we need to expose him." "Not yet," Kyle said. "He's smart. Too smart. We need proof. And for that, we go off-world." Rain blinked. "Where?" Kyle's eyes darkened. "To the place where the first blood oath began, and where the last one died. They left in secret before sunrise." Kyle piloted the ship herself, a sleek black cruiser made for stealth. Rain sat beside her, watching stars streak by. For hours neither spoke. But the silence wasn't cold. It was focused. Finally, Rain asked, "What happened to your ancestor and the human Terran soul?" Cale took a deep breath. They were in love. Or so the stories say. Their bond was strong, but their worlds were not. The Council feared change. The military feared weakness. and the humans feared being controlled. She paused. So someone betrayed them. No one knows who, but they died together, killed in the Temple of Winds on the moon Sixar. The bond turned black, cursed. And no blood oath has been allowed since, until now. Rain leaned back, processing the story. You think the truth is still there? I think the truth never left, Kyle said. Only the people did. The moon of Sixar was a dead world, cold, broken. Its surface covered in sand and ash. They landed near a ruined temple, its towers half buried, its stones worn down by time and storms. Rain stepped out first, weapon ready. Kale followed. Inside, the air was still, silent. Old Vailari text lined the walls. Faded paintings showed warriors kneeling with blades, stars above them. In the center of the temple was an altar. A sword was still embedded in it. Black metal, glowing faintly red. Kyle walked up to it slowly. Her hands trembled slightly. This was her blade, she said. My ancestor. She placed it here after they died. Rain looked around. Something didn't feel right. You sure we're alone? Kyle didn't answer. Then he heard it, a soft hum, a hidden power. Rain touched a small panel on the wall. It flickered and revealed a hidden chamber. Inside was an old console, a human design. Rain stepped forward and activated it. The screen glowed blue. A voice played. Old, crackled, but clear. This is Captain Terran Saul, if you're hearing this. The blood oath has failed, but not by us. We were betrayed, not by one world, but both. They fear what we became. Rain froze. Kyle moved beside him, eyes wide. The message continued. They say the bond was cursed. They're wrong. It was powerful. Too powerful. It made us more than just allies. It made us... The recording cut out. Static. Then silence. Rain turned to Kale. They lied. She nodded. They always have. Suddenly, an explosion shook the temple. Dust rained from the ceiling. The outer wall cracked. Rain drew his weapon. They followed us. Kale activated her blade. Then, they will regret it. The attackers came fast, dressed in shadow armor, marked with Saravan's sigil. Rain and Kale fought back to back, blades flashing in the red-lit temple. Rain took down two, spun, blocked a shot with his forearm guard. Kale struck with graceful speed, her blade singing through the air. But they were outnumbered. Rain was hit in the shoulder. He fell to one knee. Blood. Kale screamed and threw a dagger, killing the attacker. She pulled Rain to his feet. We can't win here, he gasped. Then we run smart, she said. She tapped a button on her wrist. The ship's AI activated the emergency beacon. The sky outside lit up as their cruiser swooped down, firing at the enemies. They escaped barely, leaving behind the old sword, still glowing. Back aboard, Rain lay in the med pod. Kyle sat beside him. He looked at her. You saw it, he whispered. The recording, the truth. Yes, she said. We were never cursed, he said. We were feared. Kale took his hand gently. Then it's time we stop hiding. Trust shattered. The return to Vilaris was quiet. Too quiet. Rain Carter stared out the window of the cruiser as the palace came into view, its towers tall and bright, shining like hope in the dark. But he didn't feel hope anymore. He felt something else. Doubt. His shoulder still ached from the ambush on Sixar. The wound was healing, but the pain stayed with him. And not just the physical kind. Kale had barely spoken to him since they left. The moon. She sat across from him, arms folded, eyes distant. Her jaw tight. Rain wanted to ask what she was thinking, but he already knew. She was questioning everything. So was he. They landed in secret, escorted by her most trusted guards. But the moment they entered the palace, something felt wrong. Too many eyes, too many whispers. Kale noticed it too. Someone talked, she whispered. Rain tensed. They know we found the recording? Kale didn't answer. But someone else did. Yes, said a cold voice behind them. They turned. Lord Saravan stood at the top of the stairs, surrounded by royal guards. His guards. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with quiet anger. You return from a cursed world, he said, with forbidden knowledge. And now you expect us to believe, what? That humans and Vailari are stronger together? Kyle stepped forward. The truth was buried. We uncovered it. Saravan smiled thinly. Truth is written by the living, and soon you will not be. He raised his hand. The guards moved in. Rain grabbed Kale's hand and pulled her down the side corridor. Blades flashed behind them. Shouts rang out. They ran through the palace, past shrines, over bridges, into hidden chambers. Kale tapped a panel and sealed the gate behind them. They were safe. For now. Rain turned to her. We need allies. Kale shook her head. They've already chosen sides. You're their future queen. Not anymore, she said softly. Saravan controls the council. He claims you corrupted me, that I've broken the sacred bloodline. Rain clenched his fists. Then we expose him. The recording, it's gone, she interrupted. Rain froze. What? Kale looked down. It was wiped from the system, right after we left Sixar. Someone erased it. Rain stepped back, eyes wide. Someone on the ship. Kyle met his gaze. And then she said the words that cracked something inside him. I think it was you. Silence. Rain stared at her, stunned. You think I betrayed you? I don't know what to think anymore, she said, voice shaking. You're human. Your loyalties could lie with your people. My people didn't try to kill you. Your uncle did. And you knew exactly where to look, exactly how to access the hidden chamber. That system was human-made. You activated it like it was nothing. Rain stepped back, hurt in his eyes. You really believe I used you? Kale looked torn. I don't want to. But the signs... He shook his head. I almost died for you, on that moon. And maybe that was part of the game, she said coldly. Get close, earn my trust, then destroy me from the inside. Rain felt something inside him break. He turned and walked toward the door. Kale didn't stop him. And just like that, the bond between them cracked. Not by blade, not by death, but by doubt. The next day, the palace announced it. The royal bond is suspended. Rain Carter had been stripped of all titles, removed from the inner circle. He was to return to Earth at once. He didn't fight it. He packed his things in silence. Kale didn't visit him, not even to say goodbye. But before Rain left the palace, he found something. He passed a locked chamber. One he'd never seen. Inside, voices whispered. He paused. Then he heard it. Saravan. Speaking to someone through a secret channel. Yes. The human has been removed. The girl is broken. She will bend soon. Or she will fall. Either way, we win. Rain stepped back, heart racing. He'd been set up. He turned to run, to tell Kale, but a guard appeared from the shadows and slammed the back of a rifle into his head. Darkness. Rain woke up in a cargo ship, alone, tied, bleeding. A message flashed on a small screen. Your exile has been accelerated. Earth Command has been notified. You are not welcome in Valaris again. No trial, no warning, just betrayal. Back in the palace, Kyle stood before the council. Her crown had been removed. Her sword was gone. She spoke with fire in her eyes. You fear truth, she said. But truth doesn't die in silence. It waits. And it returns. With fire. Saravan clapped slowly. Well said, niece, he said. But your place is no longer on the throne. Kyle stood tall. Then I'll build a new one. Above the stars, Rain's ship floated, heading for Earth. But deep in his mind, the bond still pulsed. Faint, but not broken. Not yet. He whispered into the silence, "I'm coming back." Between war and love, the stars moved slowly past the ships, window cold and silent. Rain Carter sat in the dark, his hands bound, his head throbbing from the hit. He didn't know where the ship was going anymore. All he knew was that he wasn't in control. Not of the ship. Not of his future. Not even of the bond. He could still feel it, like a low hum beneath his skin. Faint, distant, but alive. The link between him and Kael'nari had not broken. Not completely, which meant one thing. She still didn't want him dead, but that didn't mean she'd save him. Not this time. A noise echoed in the cargo hold. Heavy boots, a door opening. Rain looked up as a figure stepped into the room. It wasn't a Vailari guard. It was human. A man in black armor, face hidden, voice sharp. "Carter, Earth Command wants nothing to do with you. Vaelaris exiled you. You're alone. So here's the deal. Either give us the access codes you found on that moon, or you'll vanish in deep space." Quietly. Rain stared at him. "You're not Earth Command. You're Mercs." The man smirked. "Close enough. We get paid either way." Rain leaned forward. "Then you should have done your homework." He slammed his boots forward, kicking the man's legs out. In the same motion, Rain rolled sideways and smashed his shoulder into a control panel. Sparks flew. The lights flickered. The bonds on his wrists clicked open. Rain didn't wait. He lunged. 10 minutes later, he stood in the ship's cockpit, blood on his sleeve, breathing hard. The Mercs were down, alive but unconscious. He took the controls, set a new course. Destination, Vaelaris, but not the palace. He wasn't going back for a crown. He was going back for the truth. Back on Vaelaris, Princess Kael'nari stood before the Mirror Council, the most ancient secret part of her world's rule. 12 masked figures, each silent, each powerful. "You speak of change," one of them said, "but you bring chaos." "I bring choice," Kael answered. "Your bond with the human has failed," said another voice. "You no longer command balance. You only command pain." Kael looked down for a moment, and then she said, "He didn't betray me. I betrayed us. I chose doubt. I chose fear." The chamber fell silent. "Then what do you choose now?" a third voice asked. Kael raised her head. "War." She returned to her chamber alone, but she wasn't alone for long. A soft buzz sounded at her door. A guard entered. "Your Highness, we've received a transmission from a stolen ship. It's him." Kael's breath caught. The guard played the message. Rain's voice came through, broken by static, but clear. "I have proof about Saravan, about the mercenaries, about the first bond that was destroyed. I know who did it. I know who's doing it again." Kael's hand trembled. "I'm not asking for a throne. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just asking, don't shut me out again." She closed her eyes. The guard waited. Then Kael said, "Bring him to me, in secret." They met at midnight, in the sky gardens above the city. No guards, no armor, just them. Rain stood, bruised but tall. Kael stepped toward him. Neither spoke at first. Then, Rain said, "I thought the bond was dead." Kael shook her head. "It wasn't. I was just too proud to hear it." Rain stepped closer. "I never gave up on you." She looked up at him. "Then, help me save this world. Before Saravan burns." "It all?" Rain nodded. "He's not working alone. I found something, old files, hidden frequencies. He's been talking to off-worlders, outsiders." Kael frowned. "Invaders?" "Worse," Rain said. "They're planning to destroy the Vaelari throne and replace it with a puppet empire." Kael's voice dropped. "We need to act now." "Together," Rain said. Their hands touched. The bond pulsed again, stronger this time. That night, they launched the plan. In secret, Kale and Rain contacted the Outer Flame, a rebel faction of Vailari exiles who still believed in peace with humans. They had weapons, ships, and secrets of their own. Rain met with Captain Elencor, a scarred Vailari freedom fighter. "You were the last human I expected to fight beside," she said. Rain smirked. "Trust me, I surprise myself too." The rebellion began quietly, with hacked broadcasts exposing Saravan's lies, secret deals, and murders. The recording from Sixar was recovered from a hidden backup Rain smuggled off the Merc ship. It played. On every screen in the capital, people listened, people remembered, then people rose. Saravan responded with fire. Palace guards turned into soldiers, the skies over Vailaris filled with warships. Rain and Kyle led the charge. He flew a stolen cruiser. She rode at the head of her people, blade drawn. As they approached the palace gates side by side, Rain said quietly, "Win or lose, I'd do it all again." Kale looked at him, a tear in her eye. "Then let's make sure we don't lose." Bound by blade, freed by heart, dawn broke over Valaris, but the light did not bring peace. It brought fire. Across the skies of the capital, warships roared through the clouds. The palace stood like a golden fortress at the center, surrounded by chaos. Explosions shook the ground. Fighters screamed past, trailing smoke. This was no longer a secret rebellion. This was war. Inside the command cruiser, Rain Carter stood over the battle map, jaw clenched. Red dots marked Saravan's forces. Blue dots were the rebels. Outnumbered, outgunned, but not out of hope. "We have one shot," said Captain Elencor, her voice firm. "If we don't take the throne room before nightfall, he'll activate the planetary defense grid. He'll lock down the whole system." Rain looked across the room to Kael Nari. She wore her ancestral armor now, silver plates with the crest of her family, the blade of her bloodline at her side. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned. Rain stepped beside her. "We fight to the end," he said. Kael turned to him. "No," she whispered. "We fight to begin again." They launched the final strike from above. Kyle, Rain, and their elite force of Vailari rebels descending in dropships through enemy fire. The palace gates exploded open. Blades clashed. Blasters screamed. Rain moved like a storm, fast, focused, unstoppable. Kale fought with elegance and fury, her blade glowing brighter with every strike. Step by step, they pushed through the chaos toward the heart of it all. At the throne room doors, the final defense waited. Lord Saravan, standing tall in black armor, flanked by his most loyal guards. "You've come to die," he said. Kale stepped forward. "No, I've come to take back what was stolen." "Your throne?" he sneered. "My choice," she replied. Saravan smiled coldly. Then he drew a second blade. Not Vailari. Human. Rain's eyes widened. "Where did you get that?" he demanded. Saravan turned it in his hand. From the ruins of Sixar, it belonged to Terran Soul, the first human bound by blood, and now it will finish what he started. Rain stepped forward. "He didn't start a war. You did." Saravan laughed. "No, Carter. I ended a mistake, and now I'll erase yours." The final duel began. Rain and Saravan clashed, blade against blade, fury against pride. Every strike was a memory. Every move was a battle between past and future. Kale fought her way through the guards, carving a path toward the throne itself. Her people followed. Rebel banners rose among the broken pillars. Rain was fast, but Saravan was trained, a master of the old way. Blow after blow, Rain was pushed back. "You're not worthy of the blade," Saravan roared. Rain blocked, barely holding. "I didn't come for the blade," he growled. "I came for her." Saravan swung hard, but this time, Rain moved different, not with rage, with focus. He spun low, disarmed the enemy, and drove his blade through Saravan's armor. The old lord gasped, fell to his knees. Kale reached them just in time. Saravan looked up at her. "You were meant to follow, not lead." She leaned close. Then you never knew me. And with one last breath, Saravan collapsed. Silence. The room stood still. Then the rebels began to cheer. But Kyle wasn't looking at them. She looked at Rain. He was injured, bleeding, tired but alive, and looking at her like she was the only thing that mattered in the galaxy. We did it, she whispered. Rain smiled. No, you did it. She stepped closer. Without you, I would have lost everything. He reached for her hand. And now? He asked. Kyle nodded. Now we begin. 1 week later, a new ceremony, a new age. Kyle stood before the United Council. But this time, there were no masks, no secrets. The truth had been seen by all. The people knew now. The blood oath was not a curse. It was a gift, a union of equals. Kale raised the ancestral blade, and beside her, Rain held its twin. The human blade, once lost, now restored. They crossed the eyed. Blades together, light burst between them. The bond pulsed. This time with full power, Kale spoke first. I choose him, not because of war, not because of law, but because I see the future in him. Rain followed, and I choose her, not because of fate, but because I believe in her more than anything in this universe. And as the crowd stood in silence, the blades fused in light, two becoming one. The curse was broken. The throne was reborn. Later that night, in the quiet of the garden, Rain and Kale stood beneath the twin moons. No crown, no council, just them. So, Rain said, "Are we still bonded by blood?" Kyle leaned her head on his shoulder. "No," she whispered. "Now, we're bonded by heart." The end.